Cheating, misinformation, and ignorance. Those were the ingredients that IGN used to give birth to this monstrosity, and they marketed it as an actual PvP guide. You know IGN, right? And if you don't, it can be summed up with 3 words.
Video game journalism?
They were the singularity behind the birth of some memes and sometimes hilariously bad video game reviews. But whatever other unrelated garbage they spew out today, we don't care. Today, we're here to reminisce about an IGN video so putrid, it made us gag our insides out.
Yes!
Roderika had to go to the ER after watching it. What we're talking about is the atrocious IGN PvP guide for Elden Ring, which some of you may have seen before, and so did we back in the day, but we didn't really grasp how borderline radioactive this piece of mutant fecal matter was. I could give you examples of what's wrong with it, but this is a piece of excrement that can't be analysed in pieces. It has to be seen as a whole. There are so many stupid decisions, mistakes, and cheating. Yes, cheating within the video that there's only a 0.0001% chance of this not being satire. But since the universe is not without a sense of humour and a cruel taste for human suffering, it is not. This video is not satire, and you can tell this sentiment is unanimous in the community because the dislike bar definitely does not lie. But what's so wrong about it? Is it really as bad as they say it is? Today we'll take a trip to the past and analyse quite possibly the worst guide we've ever seen.
PvP.
The fact that the first thing you see is that his character looks like your average toxic ganker already sets the tone for the rest of the video. Life imitates art, I guess.
We're going to point out some of the better pieces of equipment and then create an example from those. When choosing pieces of armor for your character, the defensive stats are most important. Poise helps reduce stagger when you're attacked, which can be crucial for squeaking out one last strike or managing a quick escape. Damage negation is equally important, allowing you to potentially take an additional hit or 2. To this end, we recommend the Bullgoat set, or a similar alternative, like the lighter weight veteran set, or the Omen set if you're into that kind of thing.
I want to make a little pause here and point out that it's really funny how he says,
or the Omen set.
As if he had forgotten the name of the armor set and had to Google it real quick. I don't know, I just think it's funny.
These armors have high poise, along with equally high defensive stats. You need to keep your equip load to at least medium in order to dodge quickly. So if you don't have enough endurance to don one of these heavy sets, choose an alternative that'll keep you at medium load. Heavyweight dodge rolls are easy to exploit, and reduces your amount of invincibility frames.
Alright, my apprentice, I want to first point out that yes, armor is important, and what armor you wear can heavily impact the outcome of any match, as armor gives you poise, and poise can give you hyper armor with certain weapons, can help you tank through attacks, and so on and so on. But how much poise do we actually need, Mr. IGN? You didn't explain how poise works, nor talk about any of the most common poise breakpoints. It's actually pretty simple, by the way. If you have 50 poise and you get hit with an attack that deals more than 50 points of poise damage, you'll get staggered. If you have 57 poise and you get hit by an attack that deals less than that, you won't get staggered. And if you have 57 poise and you get hit by 2 attacks whose sum of poise damage is larger than 57, you will get staggered on the second hit. Back in the day, the numbers were different than today, sure, but for example, I could tell you today you need 88 poise to withstand the second attack of a two-handed straight sword R1 chain, but the first one will always stagger, and that really matters because if you have more than that, the second attack can be poised through, thus giving you priority if the enemy keeps mashing. Did you even know about that, Mr. IGN? Or do you not care at all since your character is level 209 and you have 48 endurance, thus allowing you to equip almost anything without fat rolling, as you cleverly explained? Also be sure to remember the fat rolling thing because it's gonna come back to haunt you.
There are a ton of viable weapon choices for PvP, so try out different weapons to see what suits your style. Your weapon choice will dictate how you allocate your stats. The most important differences between weapons are the pace of attacks, attack range, and weapon skills.
Caring about the range and speed of weapons is really funny coming from a guy who has been pressing L2 for 2 minutes of video. This is the first time we see him do an attack that's not a spell or an Ash of War. Kinda tells on the kind of player he is, or was, because I'm willing to bet your left nut that he doesn't play anymore. No, you don't have a say in it. I will bet it.
You're looking for attacks that are hard to dodge. Force the opponent to defend in predictable ways.
Ah yes, one of the hardest to dodge Ashes of War in the game. The Bloodhound finesse.
Rivers of Blood, for example, has excellent range and bleed buildup, making it very difficult to dodge and ideal for chipping away at your enemy. Some of the later game weapons, such as Dragon King's Cragblade, Sacred Relic Sword, and Hand of Millennia, offer weapon skills that also have these qualities. There are some powerful choices that are accessible relatively early on as well, such as the Bloodhound's Fang, Moonveil, or Eleonora's Poleblade.
I just can't understand this. He's contradicting himself like crazy. He says we should use weapons that are difficult to dodge, yet he mentions the most telegraphed and stupid Ashes of War in the game, except for Moonveil. All of the other Ashes of War are and were pretty bad in PvP. You won't catch a single good player with them unless you're ganking. And PvP isn't just about Ashes of War, dude. What about weapons with the fastest attacks, the best range, the best roll-catching tools, defensive setups, offensive setups, anything that doesn't involve mashing the L2 button like a chimpanzee?
If you're planning on building a caster or have trouble recovering after close calls, there is a specific Ash of War that needs an honorable mention. Bloodhound Step, which can be used in quick succession to quickly teleport away from a fight.
Ah yes, the old Bloodhound step. I don't even have to explain why it was bullshit. I'll just show you a video instead. Yeah, it was pretty stupid. That's why it got severely nerfed.
If dodging isn't your thing, there are two other options you can add to your build to avoid damage. The first is the parry skill. It can be hard to do, mostly because you have to time your opponent's attacks perfectly, but if executed correctly, it'll set you up for a powerful critical hit. The parry Ash of War can be equipped to specific weapons and shields.
Hey, idiot. Just parry. Pretty simple, huh? I mean, for the sake of time, we're not going to explain why parrying is incredibly more complex in PvP than PvE in this video. We have a whole video for that here if you're interested. All you need to know is that this guy probably knows nothing about it and he's just checking boxes.
Once you've chosen your armaments, level them up as high as possible to increase their base damage and their skills damage.
We need to repeat ourselves here. Mr. IGN here is telling you to max out your weapons for maximum damage, which is logical, yes, but he's forgetting that he's level 209. At that level, yes, go ahead, max your weapons, but if you want to play PvP at a lower level bracket, like level 60 for example, maxing out your weapons is a terrible idea, since you'll be locking yourself out of matchmaking with many people, as normal level 60 players don't go around with a plus 25 weapon. I bet some goobers followed this guide and tried to PvP at low level with a plus 25 weapon, only to find it more lonely and abandoned than a Discord mod's shower.
Another great combo for incantation users is Fire's Deadly Sin and Bloodflame Blade. The fire damage aura from Fire's Deadly Sin will start to apply the bleed from Bloodflame Blade, making it easy to punish Tarnish who like to run.
All right, I gotta leave, okay?
John, we just started. Come on, man.
Listen, there's a lot to see in this life. Not wasting it here.
Now, this is the part of the guide that creates the famous IGN glitch. The glitch already existed before IGN, it just got popularized by them. But basically, yeah, Fire's Deadly Sin was bugged for some reason, and if you had a weapon buffed with Bloodflame Blade, every tick of Fire's Deadly Sin would apply bleed buildup. And since the network was so repulsive, you'd get hit with that through rolls and bleed to death without being able to do almost anything. There were ways to fight it, but 99% of the player base weren't going to bother in doing so. IGN literally took a literal glitch in the game, used by griefers to grief other players, and included it in their PvP guide as if it was another feature. It's as if we made a PvP guide promoting the chainsaw glitch build. Hey guys, today I bring you the powerful chainsaw build, ideal for those maidenless losers who dare to fight back when you try to cheese them with your IGN build. It's baffling, even more so for a big platform like IGN. Who wrote this? Monkeys with a typewriter? Just kidding. A monkey would probably do a better job.
Don't count sorceries out entirely though. Some of the offensive spells are nearly impossible to dodge and hit really hard.
Yeah, some of the spells back then were completely overtuned, like Stars of Ruin, for example. On low latency, it was literally unavoidable. That's why From Soft nerfed it to the ground.
It's a little FP intensive, but Stars of Ruin almost guarantees at least some damage while setting you up for follow-up attacks.
Right, of course he suggests Stars of Ruin.
Also, there are a lot of intelligence weapons that, when combined with sorceries, can be devastating, such as Moonveil and the Dark Moon Greatsword.
Heavyweight dodge rolls are easy to exploit, and reduces your amount of invincibility frames.
Just like with your weapon choice, there are a lot of good options to pick for talismans. The +5 to Vigor, Endurance, Strength, and Dexterity from Radagon's Soreseal more than makes up for the 15% increase in coming damage.
No, it does not. It only compensates for 15% extra damage received when you're playing in low level, as the benefits of the extra 20 levels are huge and overall damage is low. In high level, this talisman is absolutely worthless, more so in PvP, because the benefits it offers are diminished due to the soft cap of stats. And this absolute monkey suggested this in an era of the game where everything dealt bonkers amounts of damage. This has to be a joke.
Finally, the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman decreases all the physical damage taken by 17%.
True, but in PvP it's only 5%, so it's not as useful.
There are a few things to keep in mind when choosing your stats for PvP.
He's finally talking about the stat, so I'll say it flat out. This stat spread doesn't make any sense in my brain nor yours, and he never explains why he chose specifically a level 209 build. My guess is that this was the character he had, so he rolled with it. So sorry if you're an IGN fan and you don't have a level 209 character. This video clearly wasn't for you, but even then, it's incredibly inefficient and extremely unoptimized for anything, and that's without even knowing what starting class he used, which could make it even worse. He doesn't have 60 vigor because he gets the additional points from the Soreseal, which is a dumb idea at this level. Second, he has 35 mind, which for any PvP build is absolutely useless. You won't catch any good player with silly sorceries. And 16 mind plus flasks is good enough for you already. He has 16 arcane just to cast Swarm of Flies, when almost no single spell is worth so many stat points wasted. His offensive stats are a complete mess, and judging by the weapon suggestion he gave us before, I think he just spreaded the stats to be able to deal damage with all of them. Extreme garbage stat spreading, if you ask me. In fact, you want a very strong level 209 build? Start with the Vagabond class, get 60 vigor, 31 endurance, 55 strength, 54 dex, 60 arcane, and infuse your weapons with blood. I recommend over 88 poise, but you can just wear whatever you want. You will deal insane damage and also apply bleed. And since you're on an arcane build, you'll be able to use the Ripple Crescent Halberd with sleep grease, and we all know how fun that one is. You're welcome.
Note that even buff spells are empowered by a higher related casting stat.
I think I know what he meant, as in weapon buff scale with your seal, but not flat buffs, which is what he's showing on screen. Or he probably doesn't know what he's talking about.
When considering your Flask of Wondrous physick options, know that PvP fights won't always last that long, and you won't always have it available in every fight.
PvP fights don't last long, huh? He certainly hasn't invaded much.
Use it for a quick boost to your power by choosing one of the Crystal Knot tiers to increase the stat by 5.
Sir, you're already over the soft cap of your stats. Increasing them with knot tiers will do almost nothing.
Rather go into the fight with some additional defenses? The Opaline Bubble tier can absorb most of the damage from your opponent's next attack.
Uplifting aromatics are much better than this garbage tear, as they also give you a damage boost.
The Crimson Bubble tier heals you for 30% of your maximum HP once you drop below 20%.
A broken clock is right twice a day. This one is actually good. Do use it almost any time you can.
Radagon's Soreseal's benefits are too good to pass up. So our Wondrous Flask is mixed with the Crimson and Opaline Bubble tiers, giving us defensive buffs to help mitigate its negative effect.
Yes, but for just one hit, you stupid moron!
Fire's Deadly Sin removes the Flame Grant Me Strength buff, but because it applies blood loss due to Bloodflame Blade, it's a great option for chasing down Maidenless Tarnished who spam their dodges.
You know, this small section of the video has so many wrong with it, it's just baffling. He's promoting a glitch as a regular build tool. He's mocking the guy running for his life, unable to do anything against it. He has complete lack of self-awareness of how ridiculous he looks doing this. He's so confident in his words by calling the guy maidenless for rolling. It's just peak comedy. But we can't laugh. The laughter is silenced by our sorrow. He yaps a bit more about stupid things of his idiot build, but we're cutting it off here. This guy doesn't really have anything else to say. It's just a big nothing burger. In fact, the whole video was a nothing burger, since everything he explained can just be applied to PvE and nothing would change. What makes this video a PvP guide exactly? Because he's fighting players as if he were fighting regular enemies or bosses. He didn't talk about any of the important aspects of PvP, proper spacing, stat optimization, latency, most useful weapons, poise breakpoints, attack values, common setups, common strategies, or anything, actually useful. This was just a PvE build guide, and a very shitty one at that, with a PvP title slapped onto it. And of course, IGN approved because they don't know crap about a core mechanic of Elden Ring. But I mean, why would they? They're not interested in PvP. They never were. I mean, where are the PvP guides for Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, and Dark Souls 3? Do you see any? No? That's because there aren't. But since Elden Ring was so massive, hey, gotta make those quick bucks.
I like money.
In conclusion, this is absolute garbage. We haven't made a proper PvP guide yet, but we did make a couple of videos explaining how invasions work and how to fend off invaders. If you're interested in that, you can check them out, I guess. And, I dunno, I just can't take this anymore.